Okay, we can have two situations to solve these problems. We can have a perfect square or not a perfect square. So let's go through and take a look at what that looks like. IRE, let's say initially we have 1 mole per liter of A, 1 mole per liter of B, 0 here. Let's call our K value of 9. Changes, we're going to lose from this side, we're going to gain from this side. So it's 1 minus x, 1 minus x, 0 plus 2x is 2x. We're going to set up our K chart, products. Remember, if we have a 2, we've got to square it. I'm hoping that you can see that this is like the last problem we've done. We know we have a square on the top because they're squared there. We know we have a square at the bottom, and this is the second way you can recognize a square is you've got two things that are the same. If you ever see this, take the square root of everything. 3 equals 2x over 1 minus x. Rearrange, take what's divided on this side, multiply it on this side. You've subtracted the 3x over here, bring it over here and add it. 5x, that's a 3, that's not a 3x. And x equals 3 over 5. And that's 0.6 is our K value. No, it's not. That's our x value is 0.6. We would plug that in up here to find out what our equilibrium values of everything is. What this chart tells us is what we started with, 1, 1, and 0 in a flask, and what we end up with. So remember, we're taking a flask, it's in a closed system, we're adding stuff in, and then we're seeing what we have at equilibrium. Let's throw a wrench into this. Let's say we have 1, 2, and 0. So all I've done is I've changed my concentration so those two are not the same. Remember, this is not a coefficient in front of the b, this is an amount. You're going to see in a minute what the problem is. Let's set up our ice chart. We no longer have a perfect square. Why not? Because 1 and 2 are not the same number. So we can't take the square root of everything. So we've got to multiply everything through. Here's another little trick. 2x squared is not 2x squared. You've got to square the 2 and you've got to square the x. So it's 2 squared is 4x squared. Now you've got to use FOIL here. First outside, inside, last. 1 times 2 is 2. Minus x times 1 is minus 1x. Minus x times 2 is minus 2x. And minus x times x is plus x squared. Collect like terms on the bottom. 2 minus 3x plus x squared. Now what we want to do is we want to bring this up over here and multiply through. 9 times 2 is 18 minus 27x plus 9x squared equals 4x squared. I want to bring the 4x squared over here, so I've got all the x squareds on one side. So it is going to be 18 minus 27x plus 5x squared equals 0. I'm going to try and show you something that's going to make your life easier. This is called your A term right here. The x squared is your A term. A equals plus 5. This is your x term is your B. It's minus 27. Getting your signs in is going to be so important here, folks. So if you have a plus 27 instead of negative 27, that's not good. This is your C value, it's 18. what you want to do is you want to go to your Google machine and you want to look up quadratic calculator. So in your quadratic calculator, I'm going to show you this. So all I did was I typed in quadratic calculator and it took me here. And I don't know if you can see this, but it says A, B, and C. So instead of setting up a quadratic formula, I'm just going to type in my A, B's, and C's. So my A value, oh, sorry folks, my A value is 5. My B value was negative 27. And my C value was 18. And then I'm going to hit the button that says solve. So when I solve this, it will always give you two answers. I got 4.6 and 0.77. Here's a tip. If you get two answers, which you always will, always take the smallest of the two. Here's another tip. If one answer is negative and one's positive, you got to take the positive. You can't have a negative concentration. So if you got a big or a small, take the small. If you got a positive and a negative, take the positive. We're going to take our x is equal to 0.77. And then all you do is you put what you got back into this formula. Folks, you are either going to get a perfect square or you're going to get a quadratic you have to do. I would highly suggest to you that you learn how to use the quadratic calculator. It's a lot easier than doing the quadratic formula each time. Okay, this is part 2. This is solving problems with perfect squares and not perfect squares. We still have part 3 to go.